All right. Oh, hooray. The chat is waiting for a new message. Welcome to the Micheaux Mission, 2 Men, 1 podcast, every black film ever made. My name is Vincent Williams, and I'm joined as always by my partner.
Hey, what's up? Holla at your boy. This is Len, a.k.a. the Bat Tribble.
And on this stop, we will spend some time with the historical drama Harriet.
Hoo-hoo-hoo! Harriet!
Really? Harriet? That's what we're going to do with Harriet Tubman?
Well, it actually is about where you're about to go. Keep going.
A 2019 film directed by Kasi Lemmons and starring Leslie Odom, Janelle Monáe, and in the lead role as Harriet Tubman, Cynthia Erivo. This was the choice of Lynn Webb.
Yes, it was.
But before we get to, this is not really that role though. Like, I don't know how she is, but I guess that's what we'll talk about.
That's what we'll talk about.
You have like a Harriet Tubman fetish?
And I got a Cynthia.
No judgment.
I got a Cynthia Erivo.
Cynthia, all right.
Yeah.
But besides that, how's it going? How's it going, Lynn?
It's going pretty good, Vincent.
Right.
Shout out to each and every one of you out there watching us as we are streaming live from MNYK Studios right here in Manayunk, Philadelphia, ladies and gentlemen. Our new studio. Don't it? We look all fancy and stuff.
Yeah.
Loving it. As we are streaming via way of restream to YouTube as well as to our Facebook group. So shout out to each and every one of you out there in the chat. We see Jeffrey Thomas and Aaron Fry and everybody else popping up. Hello, one and all.
Good evening, one and all.
All right, so Vincent, let's jump right into it. We don't have any listener mail this week, but this past Sunday was the Academy Awards.
That's what I hear.
You did not watch the awards?
I did not one moment.
You just do not get into awards.
I don't.
You don't care.
There's so much more
to be
that I could be doing.
Were you one of the ones that were watching the season finale of The Last of Us?
I did not. I'm actually not watching The Last of Us.
Really?
I'm take a pass.
You're taking a pass. I mean, we are genre television fans. The two of us.
Right. My post-apocalyptic fare, I have to keep in the category of I don't think this could happen.
Oh, okay.
The whole concept of The Last of Us, that this fungus that actually exists,
right,
this zombie fungus
that they introduced, like really like first scene of the series,
right, and the zombie fungus that exists and it takes over insects, usually ants, has leaped to humanity, and as far as we know, as far as science is concerned, it doesn't happen because I believe our internal temperature is too warm.
Right.
But they theorize that because of climate change, it could adapt.
Yes.
And then jump to humanity. And I said, nope. Nope. Not doing that.
It sounds too much like a textbook.
It's a little, it's after the pandemic.
No, that's true.
And I'm being optimistic saying after.
Right.
As if people aren't actually dying.
Still out here wearing masks. Right.
I was like,
okay.
I like my science fiction with laser guns.
Okay, fair enough. And transporters and stuff like that.
But from what I understand, it's very good.
It is very good.
Season
finale this week. I think they nailed the landing. I enjoyed it. I've enjoyed every step along the way of the series. Really enjoyed it. But the other thing that you didn't watch this weekend was the Academy Awards.
I did not.
That we've talked about just a little bit here on the show.
Sure.
Primarily how certain films and directors were kind of like overlooked.
Right.
Not given their just due.
From what I understand, we may have a whole documentary that touches.
We do have a documentary that touches on something
on
like
a case
that.
Study.
Yes.
From the Oscars. So.
The class of 1989, which is our new podcast documentary series out there, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you find podcasts. So feel free to check that out. We actually have a episode that is on our feed right now, a little teaser.
Right.
Episode 0.
Right. Introducing all of the films, including, of course, Driving Miss Daisy.
Yes.
Which won the Academy Award for the best film of 1989.
Yes.
And I don't think we should ever forget that.
No.
That Driving Miss Daisy won the Academy Award according to the voters in the Academy.
Yes.
In the year 1989.
In the year 1989. The same year
that Do the Right Thing was not even nominated.
That's very true.
I always like to correct people. People say, "Oh, it beat Do the Right Thing." It's like, "Oh, it didn't beat Do the Right Thing
because Do the Right Thing
wasn't invited.
Was not even invited to the party."
So
that's right.
So yes, those Academy Awards.
Yes, which is another brick in the wall of proof that these awards are. What did you call them before we turned on the microphones?
I think I said bullshit.
That is exactly. I think that is. Exactly what you've called.
Yeah.
And to hear you tell it, even though you haven't seen it, but you're well aware of the winners.
Right. You know,
there was yet another brick.
The furor du jour
in this growing wall
is that Jamie Lee Curtis won the Supporting Actress Academy Award for. I always get the title wrong.
Everything, Everywhere, All at Once.
Everything, Everywhere, All at Once.
Yes.
Which is a fantastic film.
Yes, and which pretty much
absolutely fantastic.
Like
film.
Swept a lot of the other. Michelle Yeoh won for Best Actress.
Right.
The film won for Best Movie.
Best Movie.
Best Film.
Right.
Yeah.
And the furor has been over her winning over Angela Bassett in Wakanda Forever.
Jamie Lee Curtis
winning over, and I agree with that. I really thought Angela Bassett was spectacular in Wakanda Forever. While I thought Jamie Lee Curtis was solid, I thought that Angela Bassett was spectacular. But what was so egregious to me that we discussed before, because somehow it didn't dawn on me that Stephanie Zhu was also nominated.
And Stephanie Zhu, who plays the daughter, in Everything, Everywhere, All at Once,
who is amazing.
She's amazing. Full stop. She is no joke.
I'm supposed to believe that in this film, that Jamie Lee Curtis and Stephanie Zhu are in this film together. Jamie Lee Curtis gave the better performance, worthy of acclaim. That's what we're going with?
Yeah, see, myself, I loved Angela Bassett in Wakanda Forever. Absolutely loved her. I thought she murdered it.
Yes.
Right? But I did recognize...
What more do you want from me?
I understand.
Yeah.
But I do recognize that Jamie Lee Curtis's role in Everything is the showier role. Right? So... And I guess because I'm also a fan of Jamie Lee Curtis, she probably is paid as many dues as Angela Bassett in this game.
Notice we've moved away from performance now.
I understand.
Okay.
But I'm about to go back there. So I didn't necessarily have. I was fine with Jamie Lee maybe taking it over Angela Bassett because one, I think it's the more showier role, and to me, I think she is maybe doing a little bit more there. But then when you mentioned that Stephanie Zhu was also nominated, now I agree. Now this is bullshit. Because Stephanie Zhu is everything. She is probably as many, levels as Michelle Yeoh has to show in this film. Stephanie has to show just as many. And some might even argue even more so because the villain turn, for lack of a better word, in this movie, you don't necessarily see coming.
Right.
When it comes. So when it comes, you're like, oh, So she actually has a little bit, like, a little bit more to do, and she murders it. So
look, Jamie
I'm with
Lee
you there.
Curtis is Hollywood royalty,
Mhm.
everything that goes with that. And like you said, we all like Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
let's not pretend the Academy is sitting somewhere making these cold, detached, objective choices.
Okay.
Like, let's just call it what it is. Now, I'll tell you what did surprise me. Like,
What?
if you had asked me of these two matchups, I was pleasantly surprised that Ruth Carter won again.
Really?
I really thought that if they were, like, if you had told me that this was an everything, everywhere,
All at once.
all at once night,
Mm-hmm.
I would have thought costume design would have won too. Because costumes are bananas in this film.
I think the costumes and the I think more so the set
The
design.
set design more than the costume.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because Stephanie Zhao and Michelle Yeoh had on some frocks.
They did, but I think the set design is what really sells that.
Sells it more. Than the costume.
Whereas Ruth Carter, she had to basically create like almost like a history of their ensembles and the clothing
and
for Wakanda as well as for the quote unquote Atlantis.
I was about to say, had to create a brand new environment.
Right. Yeah. So I shout out Ruth. I saw Ruth Carter taking this all the way.
Oh, well, again, if this was about quality,
Mm-hmm.
then yeah. But
Now my joke was, so now Ruth Carter is the costume designer of note
Yes.
and of fame.
Yeah.
Right? So does Ruth Carter now replace probably the most other prominent famous costume designer of fame, Edith Head? Like if Ruth Carter, like does she create the next iteration of Incredibles costumes? Because that Edna Mole is modeled after Edith Head.
I mean, maybe.
That might kind of be cool.
Yeah, that would be cool. That's
be
real
cool.
Inside baseball.
That's inside baseball, but
right,
yeah. We don't play baseball, but we like
right. But again, let's be clear. No diss to Jamie Lee Curtis.
None whatsoever.
Love Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yes, and I loved her shouting out that she was winning this for the thousands and thousands of genre fans like you and I.
But let's not pretend the Academy Awards is anything but what it's always been.
And what is that again, Vince?
Oh, some bullshit.
All right. Okay.
All right.
Let's move from the bullshit.
Moving on. Moving through.
We'll move from the bullshit.
As we continue.
Did we promise MNYK Studios that this was a family show?
No.
Oh, good. All right. I'm just checking the tape.
We're keeping it. I think that's what, PG-13? We're still in PG-13.
We've said bullshit about 4 times already.
Pretty sure that's still PG-13.
That's not PG-13.
Captain Picard dropped an F-bomb last week.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
But that was.
I know. There's always some great negotiation. I bet this is still PG-13.
I don't think so.
I bet less than 5 bullshits is still PG-13.
Well, you've just said the 5th.
Okay, right.
So
now,
we can't say
now,
any
now
more. We're
now
done.
We're good. So no more profanity. No nipples. We got to watch the alcohol consumption.
Yes.
Smoking is a no-no.
Smoking is a no-no. The alcohol, though.
Mm-hmm.
Someone's told me, and I'll just be up front, my girlfriend.
Yes.
Khadijah. She said, there's something missing from our set. And she said, it's alcohol.
Alcohol.
Even if we're not necessarily drinking it, but maybe like a couple of decanters.
Just have it like sort of sitting there.
Yeah.
And also, just in full disclosure, I would never drink while we're on. Like, what I would do is I would do the Dean Martin.
Oh, so the iced tea?
I thought it was apple juice.
Apple juice.
Yeah, I'd have it apple juice and pretend.
Yeah.
So,
to be fair, that's what she said.
She said
we could just be drinking apple juice.
Just pretend.
But have like a decanter.
But now that's messing with the PG-13 because it's depicting us with alcohol. I know all that goes into the calculations.
I don't think the alcohol plays that far apart. As long as we're not portrayed as intoxicated.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, and we're not showing that we're drinking copious amounts without being intoxicated.
Right. And then we say, let me go drive the school bus.
Right.
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 Okay.
Like take the kids to. Then I think we might be good. We're good. All right.
All right. All right. Hopefully people are keeping notes.
Hopefully they're still watching.
Yes.
We've gone left, Vincent.
Yes.
It's time for us to get into our games, ladies and gentlemen. The games that people play. And we're going to start off with that sound you just made.
It's the games. It's the games.
No, it wasn't aha. It was what the hell are you talking about? Deborah Battle is in a chat and said that she listened to the first episode of the class of 1989 just this morning.
Oh, very nice.
Hope you enjoyed it, Deborah.
All right.
All right. So we're going to kick off our games and we're going to start with the top 5.
Top 5.
Yes.
Top 5. Who's your top 5? My top 5 is.
The top 5, ladies and gentlemen, where Vincent and I get together. I give Vincent a top 5 list, and he offers commentary on it.
Commentary
from you, Vincent.
From
it's
me.
Only you can give it.
Right. It's not just me talking from the peanut gallery.
No.
It's commentary.
Yes, it's commentary.
I like that.
All right. Now.
All right, so what we got?
Tonight's top 5 is inspired by Harriet Tubman.
Okay.
But
it's
inspired.
Lighthearted.
Well, it's inspired by a Harriet Tubman that you may not be aware of. Now, I didn't see this movie in the theaters, right?
Okay.
And the reason why I didn't see Harriet Tubman in the theaters is because around the time that this film came out, a Harriet Tubman comic book came out. Harriet Tubman Demon Slayer.
That's right.
By David Crownson and Joey Vasquez as the artist, which suppose that Harriet Tubman was also like slayed demons as she was trying to free the slaves.
Yes.
Because some of the slaves were being owned by demons.
Yes.
And it was a very interesting, cool little piece of speculative fiction.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? And when this film came out around the same time, and I learned that this actually wasn't an adaptation of Harriet Tubman Demon Slayer.
You were disappointed.
I was slightly disappointed.
You were disappointed.
I was slightly
disappointed.
All you
heard was Cynthia Erivo and swords.
That's all. I was there.
Yeah.
I was there.
All right.
And if anyone has ever seen Cynthia Erivo's like workout regimen, you would know that you would want to see her.
She could have played
slaying some demons.
The Demon Slayer.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yes, dog.
Yeah.
She is beast like that.
Yeah.
So I was a little disappointed.
Yes.
Disappointed to the fact that to the point where I didn't want to go and see this movie and then be disappointed by the movie and be like, why didn't y'all make Harriet Tubman Demon Slayer?
Right. The lack of demons and slaying.
Yes.
Right.
So it upset me.
Right. Kasi Lemmons, I hope when you listen to this, you take notes for the sequel.
Yes, please. So what I did in taking that inspiration, though, because I like the idea of Harriet Tubman Demon Slayer, which is along the same lines of some people may remember that there was a book and a movie that came out, Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter.
Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter.
So taking these people or moments in time from history,
putting them together
with some speculative fiction.
Sure, absolutely.
So what I've done, I've taken some specific Black people from history and melded them with speculative fiction.
Right. It's like Freddie Rerun Stubbs, Time Traveler.
Akin to that.
Okay.
But these
like through Tom.
But Freddie Rerun Stubbs, well, I guess he was an actual person. All right.
Right.
All right. So
through Tom.
Is that how he goes through time?
He's like Quantum Leap but with pop and locking.
Oh my God. Why do people watch us? Okay, so this is the top 5 speculative Black history.
Right.
Okay?
Okay.
All right. And number 5 is a layup.
Okay.
It's a layup. Jesse Owens as Jesse Quick. Yes. Now, for those comic book fans, may or may not know, because he's a kind of an older character, back in the 40s, along with the Golden Age Flash, there was another speedster, of course, a white guy, and he was called Johnny Quick, who would say some secret formula that would then activate his super speed.
Yes.
Right? Well, suppose you took that origin and infused it upon the real American hero,
Jesse Owens.
That is Jesse Owens, as the fastest man alive. He then becomes the first speedster.
Okay.
Wins in the Olympics.
Wins in the
historically, like he did, but also kills Hitler.
Yes. Which would upset him even more.
Well, yes, it would.
Okay.
But then think about it. Jesse Quick, now, the first speedster of the family of speedsters.
Right.
And now the Speed Force is the more or less the property of African Americans throughout time.
It's real geeky.
It's real geeky.
Real geeky.
That's real dope, though.
Yeah, I like it.
And think of how many times the world's fastest man has been a Black man.
Yes.
And now you learn that they actually tied in with the Speed Force. Carl Lewis.
So Black man can't be fast without magic. Is that where you're going?
No, no.
Black man can't train real hard.
Oh, see.
Black man got to have magic.
No, it doesn't have to have magic. First of all, it's not magic. It's super science, and it is. It's a mathematical equation that Johnny Quick says.
Right.
He doesn't just says ooga booga. He says like 3 times 4 carried to 2 pi 7, something like that.
Wow, you remember the formula.
I guarantee it's totally wrong, but it's
closer to right than not. Not to say that I remember the formula,
but it's a mathematical equation.
Yes, all right.
So it's super science. So black people have tapped
that song Supersonic would then be about the 80s version. See,
JJ, I think
JJ Fad was actually talking about.
They were actually tied into the
Supersonic.
Yes.
They were actually talking about Jesse Quick's granddaughter at that point.
Maybe they were the granddaughters of Jesse.
The JJ Fad were the granddaughters of Jesse Quick. And so in the part of the song where they say, they're actually speaking so fast
that you can't hear that they're actually doing this scientific equation
because we don't have
enacting their superpowers.
I think you might be.
And they turn into the super speed group Supersonic.
Supersonic.
Which then equates to why they didn't have such a long lasting career, because they were too busy, saving the world.
Saving the world.
As Supersonic.
All right.
Stick a pin in that idea, because that's
not a bad idea.
That's gonna play a role later.
Jot that down. All right.
All right. So that was number 5.
Let's copyright the Micheaux mission for people.
That was number 5.
All right.
Number 4.
Number 4.
Now, number 4 is going to take a little bit of a leap.
Okay.
Because I'm basing number 4 on the historic comic strip creator, Maury Turner.
Okay.
Who created the comic strip We Pals.
We Pals. That's
from the early 70s. A lot of people probably don't remember this. It lasted from 1972 to 2014. So that's already almost 10 years that it's been going. And even in 2014, it was not as, popular.
No. Was it still syndicated?
I think it was still syndicated, but very not as widely syndicated. It was a comic strip, ladies and gentlemen, that was about a diverse group of children. It was the first comic book, the first comic strip syndicated in the United States to have a cast of diverse ethnicity dubbed the Rainbow Gang.
Mm-hmm.
Right, because they had a black kid, they had an Asian, they had white, Hispanic, and they were all about the ages of the Peanuts gang.
Right. It was absolutely a riff on Peanuts.
Yep. Right.
Yeah.
Right. But definitely more like pro socio-political storylines baked in it because of the time in which its popularity, height of its popularity, was the early to mid 70s.
Sure.
Where Weep House was like everywhere. And I actually even think if they didn't have a cartoon series, I think they did do 1 or 2 cartoon specials of Weep House.
You might be right.
I seem to remember seeing them animated.
I just remember the collections.
Well, the collections were definitely
3 or 4
big time.
collections of Weep House. Yeah.
So, my speculative fiction
Okay.
is, what if Weep House does get the acclaim of Peanuts?
Okay, and then it turns into
this huge
cultural phenomenon. Okay.
So that we are now speaking of Maury Turner in the same hallowed tones that we speak of Charles Schulz.
Okay.
That's basically the speculative fiction. It really is just giving Maury Turner his just due.
His shine. And is he still alive?
I believe he may have passed.
Okay.
I didn't check that part.
Okay. I'm with that.
With that,
hell, we can make that come true.
yeah, I would
This
love
is like Last of Us.
I would love to see, like, especially now in the days of computer generation, computer animation, where it could really approximate his cartoonist style, which I think would work well in computer animation. People wondered whether or not, when they did the Peanuts movie, whether or not that would work in computer animation, and they made it work. I thought that movie was like very well done, and I actually enjoyed it.
Feel like in real time, that's actually not a bad thing to research, like Maury Turner. Like, has anyone done any documentary work on Maury Turner?
That's a good question. I feel like PBS maybe did a special on it, but
because it's an interesting story, and like you said, there was that pocket of time where he really was this kind of cult. He had this footprint, almost like the Boondocks before the Boondocks.
Yeah, but that's definitely a softer edge than the Boondocks.
No. I'm just talking about as this black cartoon.
Okay.
And then if you think about,
he was probably, when we're talking about early 70s, mid 70s, he probably was the predominant black cartoon at that time. Don't you think?
He absolutely was.
And if you want to call that diverse cast a black cartoon.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm trying to think about that.
It's really it. Let's talk about that later too.
All right. Well,
you're talking about a lot of stuff we should talk about when it's not cameras in our face.
Number three.
Another great idea Lynn's about to throw out.
I think you're going to like this one.
Okay.
Remember what I said about JJ Fad not being able to really manifest their destiny as a group because they were busy being supersonic.
Right.
I really stole that idea from my number 3.
Okay, which is?
The Marvelettes.
The Marvelettes.
The Marvelettes, who a lot of people do not realize they were a Motown group.
Yes.
They were actually with Please Mr. Postman. That was actually Motown's first number 1 hit.
That is 100% correct.
They created their first number 1 hit. But suppose the Marvelettes, who were a quartet of 4 black women.
Yes.
Suppose they are in real life the Fantastic Four. They got Marvel in their name, the Marvelettes. They've got powers. There's 4 of them. They're adventurers. They're going to save the world. They go to different dimensions.
They sing early R&B.
They sing very early R&B. You know.
All right.
And because of that, the Supremes are able to come in and steal their shine.
It's a space for the Supremes.
Yes, the Temptations come in and steal their shine, but they don't care
because they're saving the world.
They're saving the world.
One beat at a time.
One beat at a time, Vincent.
My stuff.
See,
as to your stuff, and we collectivize.
Yes.
All right.
You like that, don't you?
I look, man. I'm
The
with
Marvelettes is the name. They don't even have to. That's the name of the movie.
You don't even have to do anything to it.
And the movie is a period piece.
The movie is a period piece.
All right.
I like it.
All right.
All right.
That's number 3.
Number 3.
All right. Number 2.
Number 2.
Deep cut here.
Deep. We've had JJ Fad in the Wee Pals, but somehow now we're doing a deep cut.
Now we're doing a deep cut.
Okay.
This is a deep cut.
All right.
All right. Sophia Dannenberg.
Okay.
Stars in the movie called The World Above Below. Now, a lot of people don't know who Sophia Dannenberg is. Do you know who Sophia Dannenberg
do not.
is? Sophia Dannenberg was the first African American to climb Mount Everest.
Oh, okay.
Climb to the top of Mount Everest. And she's a black woman.
All right.
Now, imagine, there have been, in history, there's been tons of people who have made it to the top of Mount Everest. Most of them hailed from Nepal.
Yeah.
Naturally. But just think, is that every time they get to the top of Mount Everest, they're going there because they've heard a legend that at the top of Mount Everest is where they will learn the secrets of the world.
Okay.
But every time they reach there, they're not worthy to learn it. And it is only when a black woman, Sophia Dannenberg, reaches the summit of Mount Everest that she is bestowed with the secrets of the world.
And what does she do with them?
She becomes Beyonce.
Let's keep workshopping.
We'll workshop.
Keep workshopping.
I hadn't gone there.
But all right, that's
as far as I got.
I like it.
This is as far as I got.
All right, we'll keep workshopping it.
But you like that?
Yeah. Gotta get some kung fu in there somehow.
Okay, well, she gets the kung fu.
Right.
Yeah, all right.
You gotta knock on the big door.
She gets the world's largest nunchucks.
There's a big door, and then the dude opens it.
She gets the glow.
Gets the glow. There you go.
There you go. And she's worthy of the glow.
She is worthy of
not
the glow.
Bruce Leroy.
Right.
She gets the glow.
Right. Don't get me.
There we go. There we go. There we go. The Best Dragon. Let's rename this. The Best Dragon.
Okay.
All right.
All right. I'm with it.
All right.
All right.
Got me in my bag now. All right. Now, number one.
Number one. The greatest of ideas.
Yes. I'm reclaiming a title that has been used multiple times, I believe, but certainly once during the time of the blaxploitation.
Okay.
This is a movie called Black Moses.
Black Moses.
Black Moses.
Is there a movie called Black Moses?
I feel like there had to have
Black
been.
Samson.
Okay. I just assumed there was a movie called Black Moses. It's fine if it's not, because this is more apropos.
Dr. J's name in The Fish That Saved Pittsburgh.
Right. We don't talk about that movie.
No, you don't talk about that movie because you don't have any joy in your heart. I talk about that movie all the time.
I like it.
Go ahead. Black Moses.
Black Moses. A reimagining of world history.
Okay.
Where Richard Allen, the leader of Mother Bethel Church, the founder of Mother Bethel Church.
Here in Philadelphia.
Where he finds that church, that is the springboard and the beginning of freedom of black people from slavery.
Okay.
And with that being the impetus for the freedom of all black people, world history is reimagined because slavery is ended that much sooner. Black people are able to be fully self-actualized that much sooner, educated that much sooner. Those who want to return to Africa, they can do so. And America is made to reconcile with their part in the slave trade. Not the BS that they give you, the 40 acres and a mule. No, they actually have to.
Right. Didn't even get that.
Yeah, right. They actually have to come up with receipts. They have to actually pay their just due. Okay. And now world history is changed. My idea for this is that you could go one of two ways. The movie can be Richard Allen and him freeing the black people from slavery.
Mm-hmm.
Or it can just be a story set in America where slavery only lasted 20 years.
Right.
And now just seeing how different the world looks
Yeah.
in that from that lens.
Yeah.
You know, it'd be very happy. It'd be a joyful movie.
Yes. Yes. It's the opposite of all those movies that are always in some stage of development of what if slavery never ended?
Right. No, what if slavery didn't even get started?
Right. It's always the dude. What if slavery never ended? It's like, okay, you actually have a little drool in the corner of your mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Wipe that off.
Yes, they sit there like, let's just live here for a minute.
Right.
No, we're not going to do that.
I like it.
Like that?
I like it. I like it. Get Nicole Hannah-Jones to talk about all of the economic and social and everything that came from slavery. I like it.
Yes. The beautiful thing about all 5 of these,
okay,
is I can find a role for Nia Long in every one of these projects.
I'm sure you can. I'm sure you can.
Yep. Find a role for everyone.
We talked about the actress who played all 3 witches in the tragedy of Macbeth that just came out a couple of years ago. Nia Long could play all 3 members of J.J. Thad.
She could. She could play all the Marvelettes.
She could play all 4 of the Marvelettes.
We've got 7 roles for
7 roles
for Nia Long.
7 roles for Nia Long.
I'll leave some space for Cynthia Erivo, and we'll throw Anika Noni Rose.
May throw her bone. Well, thank you for that.
Well,
aren't you magnanimous?
Least I can do for you, brother.
Least I can do for. All right. Well, there you go.
There's the top 5,
There's
ladies and gentlemen.
Top 5.
Let us know what you thought about the top 5.
Right.
Hit us up, email us, micheauxmission@gmail.com, or you can hit us up on our social medias at Micheaux Mission. Farrell Blackwell has an addition to the list. Looking on the chat. What if, now hang with me, what if Siskel and Ebert were black?
What if? What if?
What if Siskel and Ebert?
What a strange world that would be.
Really? Would it? I don't think that really would change things that much. Robert Monroe Jr. actually did give us a piece of information. Thank you, Robert. He says that Maury Turner passed in 2014, so he probably his passing may have been what brought the end of the comic strip.
Sure. That's too bad.
It ended in 2014. Yeah. And just really quick, looking through the chat, and Deborah Battle suggests Jesse Owens, Nazi Hunter.
Jesse Owens, Nazi Hunter.
As Jesse Quick.
Yeah, Jesse Quick.
There you go.
Jesse Quick. There you go.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody in the chat. Vincent?
Yes, sir.
It's time for the Game of Kings.
It is.
6 Degrees of D'Urville Martin.
6 Degrees of D'Urville Martin. Himself an abolitionist and a demon slayer.
He was.
Also, one of the Marvelettes. I believe the original name was D'Urville
and the
Martinettes.
And the Martinettes.
And the Martinettes.
Or the Martinettes.
Yeah, and then when he left, they
grabbed their own identity.
It was a marvel that they could continue without the singular talent that was D'Urville Martin.
And yet they continue.
Much
like the Three Stooges did without Ted Healy.
Boy, you are just you boy.
I'm showing every one of my gray hairs.
You've backed yourself in the corner. No one else could do a show with you at this point. Like, just your random, like no one. And now it's all these cameras. Like, anybody else is just going to be a deer in headlights with you.
But you knew.
I'm right there with you.
And that's why you're my partner.
There you go. All right, D'Urville Martin.
6 Degrees of D'Urville Martin.
What we got?
All right, Vincent. Tying in again with our film tonight, Harriet.
Yes.
These are two actors
Okay.
who have played a slave in previously in a movie.
This is terrible. This is terrible.
What?
Go ahead. They played enslaved persons.
They have
Go
played
ahead.
enslaved people
Okay.
in movies.
Who
before.
is the first person?
And I'll go with the first person, who is Charlton Heston.
Charlton Heston. Come on. We just did. Like, I just used Charlton Heston as a step.
Yeah, I know, but
Derville Martin is in Guess Who's Coming to Dinner with Sidney Poitier. Sidney Poitier is in Uptown Saturday Night with Rosalind Cash. Oh, this is because we're going to do a version of this, because Rosalind Cash is in the second adaptation of the novel I Am Legend with Charlton Heston, which is Omega Man.
oh, that's right. Yeah, yeah.
And we'll be talking about I Am Legend sooner than later.
Yes.
So there you go.
Okay.
That's how you get to Charlton Heston.
All right. Well,
And then he becomes let my people go. I'm assuming you're referencing him in the Ten Commandments.
actually, I wasn't.
What are you referencing him in?
I'm referencing him in Ben-Hur.
Ben-Hur.
He played a slave
There
in
you
Ben-Hur.
go. All right, so there you go. Charlton Heston.
A two-time slave.
2-time. There you go.
All right, number 2.
Number 2.
And I may be mispronouncing this gentleman's name, so I apologize.
Oh boy.
Digimon Hansu.
Digimon Hansu. Okay. So how do I want to get to him is the question.
Mm-hmm.
Because the quickest way is through the Marvel muck.
Marvel?
Yeah, because remember, he's in the first Guardians of the Galaxy.
He is?
Yes.
Because I don't remember him in a Marvel movie.
But we will keep it thematic.
He's in a Marvel movie.
Mm-hmm. So Derville Martin is in
Yes.
Derville Martin is, of course, in 5 on the Black Hands Out with Dick Anthony Williams, who's in Mo Better Blues with Samuel L. Jackson.
Right.
Who is in Django Unchained with the dude, Candy.
Oh, Candy. Oh, Leonardo
DiCaprio, who's in The Wolf of Wall Street, right?
Yes.
With Matthew McConaughey.
Yes.
Who is in Amistad with
Digimon Hansu.
Digimon Hansu.
That's not the movie I was thinking of.
So I got 2 slave movies in there. I got Django and Amistad. So you see what it is?
I see what you did.
You see what
I
I
see
did
what you
there?
did there. I see what you did. I wasn't even thinking about Amistad.
What were you thinking about?
He plays a slave turned into a gladiator in Gladiator.
Oh, he sure does.
Yes. Yes. And I didn't think of him in the Marvel movies because now I see him in the Warner Brothers, in DC movies.
No.
Because he plays Shazam. In
Right.
Shazam.
No. Remember, he's actually in the first scene of Guardians in the Galaxy.
I don't remember.
When Star-Lord said, I'm Star-Lord, and he says, "Who are you?"
Oh, he's one of the guys that.
Yeah, he's one of the Kree.
I don't remember.
Right.
I don't remember that.
Right. You don't just have all this
I don't.
stuff filed in your head and figure out ways to connect him to Derville Martin in different ways. Like, you don't do that.
No, I have to leave room for all of the Marx brothers.
I'm just saying, we pals.
We pals.
Yeah. So there you go.
All right. Well, very
All
good,
right,
Vincent.
There you go.
You knocked it out the
and
box.
tried to keep it thematic.
And you kept it thematic.
All right.
Very good. Very good. I saw that Farrell Blackwell said at least Len didn't say a top 5 list of best slave portrayals.
God. Yes, I'm glad you didn't.
I didn't.
Yeah.
I knew not to go there.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's Jimon. Jimon. The D is silent. Thank you. I
Oh, like
apologize.
like
in
in
Django.
Django. There you go.
I should have known.
It all.
Thank
goes
you.
together.
Our missionaries, that's what we call all of our fans out there in the chat for those new to the show. Our missionaries are some of the best fans ever.
Yeah.
So thank you. Thank you very much.
All
Appreciate
right.
that. All right. Somebody said this is the What If Len Gets Stoned edition of the top 5. I don't think about that.
That's apple juice in the glass.
All right.
All right.
It is time for us to get into our review of Harriet. But first, it's time for trailer talk.
All right.
Because this is the part of the show where we just talk about whatever we want, as if we weren't already. Because it will be edited out of the actual audio podcast because we'll pop in the trailer for the film. And it's Jaimon Hansu, not Jaman. Well, I'm sure the man cares.
Yeah. No, I didn't say I didn't care.
Oh, I thought you said I didn't care. I thought that's what you whispered.
How did okay come to I didn't care? I just said okay.
I read your lips.
Is that apple juice in the glass? What was wrong with you? Give me some beef with this man.
I wouldn't do that.
All right.
I apologize. Okay. Have you seen Creed 3?
I haven't.
Me neither.
I have.
I've heard good things.
I've heard good things.
I want to go see it.
Yeah. I just haven't gotten to it. It's been super busy in my house.
I know. I want to go see it. I'm looking forward to checking that out. You watched something. You said what is it? Unprisoned.
Yes.
With
Kerry Washington.
Kerry Washington and Delroy Lindo.
Delroy Lindo. It's very good.
Now he plays her father,
right?
And he just came out of prison, right?
After 17 years, but he's been in and out of prison.
Oh, okay.
So it's you know it's one of those situations, but the acting elevates the premise.
Okay.
Like it really is Kerry Washington and
the Delroy Lindo show.
Yeah. So it's very, very good. Recommend it. Like should have recommended it in the show.
All right.
But so go watch
Unprisoned. And where's that streaming?
It's on Hulu.
On Hulu. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And are you caught up on Picard?
Yes, we should go though. We're kind of on the clock. Yes.
Okay. Well, I saw a question just real quick.
I am.
Are you enjoying it?
I am very much enjoying it.
Okay.
The old Star Trek nerd in me
is really digging it.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right.
So we will get into our review. And now we will get into the review. Well, all of you knew it watching this from home.
All right. Let me just pull up what I want to read from. Prom is Harriet. All right.
Ready?
I am ready.
All right.
Harriet, a 2019 historical drama about the legendary abolitionist Harriet Tubman. From her escape from slavery through the dangerous mission she led to liberate hundreds of slaves through the Underground Railroad. This is the story of the heroic abolitionists. Directed by Kasi Lemmons from a script written by Kasi Lemmons and I just lost.
Oh.
I know you're going to edit all of this. We better edit all of this.
I have no choice now but to edit it because I've been told to edit it. I think it's is it Gregory?
Directed by Kasi Lemmons with the screenplay by Kasi Lemmons and Gregory Allen Howard.
Right.
Harriet stars Joe Allen, Clark Peters, Vanessa Bell Calloway, Leslie Odom Jr., Janelle Monáe, and in the lead role is Harriet Tubman, Cynthia Erivo. Harriet was the selection of Lynn Webb. Lynn, how would you like to begin our conversation about Harriet?
Well, I'm going to begin here with this film that I told you that I wasn't super keen. I joked about not really being keen on seeing it. I was actually surprised that the life of Harriet Tubman had not been covered before in a feature film.
Sure,
right?
Sure, absolutely.
So that actually took me by surprise. And another thing about her, so phenomenal was Harriet Tubman, ladies and gentlemen, that at one time before our most recent ex-president, the president before him, Barack Obama, was set to change the face of money so that Harriet Tubman, I think she was going to be the new face of the $20 bill.
Right. Instead of Andrew Jackson,
right,
who is a notorious racist.
Right.
And so, yes.
Right. Now, until, the subsequent president put the kibosh on that, unfortunately. But that is the how significant her story is. This is not just someone who, walked some people across a field and got them free, across a state line. No, Harriet Tubman, she was the real deal, right? The legend of Harriet Tubman is more truth than legend, right? And this film is really the first attempt to really put that in a true context in film. In doing so, like the best of biopics, it takes the story and it massages it. Massages it for film, for action beats, for clarity of the narrative. And that's fine. Everyone, the best biopics have done that throughout history.
Absolutely.
So you're used to that massaging of it. What I think most people are not used to, though, because it's rare that you have a figure from history, especially a woman figure from history, who is such a heroic figure, and not just heroic for some kind of social stance. No, heroic for actual physical deeds, right? For actually being, quote unquote, an action hero on the screen. And that is what this film depicts Harriet Tubman as, because it is only fitting because of how incredible her story is. Harriet Tubman was a woman who was born into slavery, even though she should not have been. The story is told, but she is born into slavery and then chooses to escape from slavery all on her own.
Right.
Traveling 100 miles on her own.
Yeah.
By foot, with maybe one or two people helping her along the way. But for the most part, she is on her own. She is a woman that, at least according to the movie at the time, could not read or write.
Yeah, and that's history. That's historically accurate.
And that makes it all the more amazing to be able to make it from South Carolina into Philadelphia. Is where she travels.
I think Maryland.
Yeah. Maryland. It was Maryland. I'm sorry. You're right. It was Maryland. It was because she was in Dorchester, Maryland.
Right.
So in that story alone is amazing, but then the fact that she then chooses to go back.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
On her own.
Yeah.
And get, to presumably to get her husband.
Yes.
But then winds up getting her family and friends.
Yeah.
And returning them on their own 100 miles. And then goes back again.
Yeah.
and continuously goes back and forth and
That's
goes
right.
back and forth. That is incredible heroism, incredible feats of strength, courage, bravery that you do not see depicted regularly on the screen in the face of a black woman.
Right.
And Kasi Lemmons does it, and does it with skill, does it with honor, but not without forgetting the story of Harriet Tubman, the woman.
Right.
Harriet Tubman, the woman who left her husband because her husband was a free man, and she didn't want to chance him being caught on the road and thus losing his freedom. When she escapes on her own, she leaves him for solely for that reason. But then her mission is to go back and get her brothers, to get her sisters, to get her nieces, to get her parents. All because she wants them to have the same taste of freedom that she has. She is in Philadelphia where people are walking around who seemingly forgot what it meant to be free, or many of them born into freedom, so they don't know the yoke of slavery. She remembers that. She still carries that pain. She's still famously in a scene, she says, you're not used to the stink of slavery being on someone. She knows it. It's still in her nose. And she wants to, the way she is able to kind of wash it off, she wants to be able to provide that same opportunity to her people. And she keeps going back and forth and doing it, forsaking a lot of her own private self-love and joy. She never really, it's not until later in her life that she really even gets to appreciate the freedom that she fought so hard for.
Right.
Because she wants to make sure that everybody else has that freedom, right? And all of that is right there on the screen. It is all right there on the screen in the performance of Cynthia Erivo as Harriet Tubman, in the direction of Kasi Lemmons, on this film. It is a film that puts you right in the place, in the time of slavery. It doesn't hit you over the head with the oppressiveness of slavery, right? Because it's 2019 when this movie comes out.
Right.
By 2019, the oppression of slavery, the violence of slavery, the degradation of slavery, that is almost movie shorthand for a lot of people already.
Yes.
Right? So it doesn't try to remake the wheel of that. It shows you the effects of it. You see it. People wear those effects on their skin, in their faces. But it doesn't like beat you down with it, such as like some films, 12 Years a Slave or other films of that nature. And not knocking those films, because those films have a different things, different narrative purpose. The purpose of this film is to champion the legend and the heroic tale of Harriet Tubman. And in doing so, this film marvels. It works with an origin story. The moment when Harriet Tubman, when she first steps, or was about to take her steps into Pennsylvania, free. And it was a moment she's standing there, and she's standing in the sun of Pennsylvania glowing in her face. It is such a powerful moment of joy, of release for her, and it's all over Cynthia Erivo's face. I am not gonna lie, I wept like a baby at that. I thought it worked for me. I was there with her. I felt the power of like what that meant for her, and it was there in that wordless scene. It was beautiful. There's a lot of great imagery in this movie that really works for me. It's taking liberties there are some characters that are created solely for the film, and there's an argument to be made. Okay, why did they create these characters?
Sure.
The one character, the Gideon, who is the son of the slave owner that owned Harriet,
right?
Who more or less becomes like the big bad of the movie,
right?
He is a wholly created character, and I guess he becomes our image of like the white slave owner at that time.
Right. They were owned. Her family was owned by the Brodus family, but Gideon Brodus is, as you said, a fictional creation.
He's a fictional creation, and I think it's interesting that they make him the he is a fictional creation, but he's a younger guy. He's showed to be maybe around the same age of Harriet.
Right. I think it's implied that they grew up together.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's interesting because while he is definitely a slave owner and has a bit of that mentality, I think the idea in this film not being heavy-handed in its depiction, like I said, of the violence of slavery is you buy it to a degree because it's coming from a younger person as opposed to an older, slave owner who will be more steeped in it. I at least that's the way that I read that they're trying to get that over, right, with his character. Then there is the character of the more or less the slave catcher or slave bounty hunter, as it were, Bigger Long, played by friend of the show Omar Dorsey.
Yeah.
Big villainous dude. Omar, I'm here to tell you, bro, I ain't like the way Philadelphia smelled on your breath, man. You ain't got to say our name like that. You ain't got to say Philadelphia. You ain't got to say it like that. You ain't got to say it like that, Omar. I ain't appreciate that. But that was just you playing the character, and you played it well, bro. So good on you. He killed, so he's good in a very limited role. I expected more of him in the movie. But he makes the most of his moments. I don't know if the movie 100% sells him as this big bad as you're meant to. Yet he does have he's the instigator of probably the most violent moment in this movie when he kills another fictional character played by Janelle Monáe. Janelle Monáe, who plays Marie Buchanan, owner of a boarding house in Philadelphia where supposedly Harriet stayed, and a lot of free slaves stay at this boarding house. Wholly created character. I'm not exactly sure. I wasn't able to find out a reason for why they created her. If I hadn't read that she was created, I would have bought it.
Sure.
So I don't mind it. Janelle Monáe proves again to be a natural as an actress.
Yeah.
I enjoyed her performance. It was very nuanced and smart. I even enjoyed Leslie Odom.
Yeah.
As William Still, a Philadelphia abolitionist who is there to meet Harriet when she gets to Philadelphia and becomes more or less his her M of this underground railroad. Which the one aspect of this movie that is created whole cloth for the movie, there definitely was an underground railroad. But this underground railroad that's depicted in the movie is surprisingly above ground. With fancy affairs and meetings and committees.
Feels like it's probably some passwords and shirts. That I didn't 100%. That kind of like took me out of it a little bit. That felt a little bit more corporate. The funny thing is that's what Frederick Douglass talks about in his slave narrative. He says the Underground Railroad is a little bit too above ground.
Oh, does he?
Yeah.
But
it's actually like you almost directly quoted Frederick Douglass just then.
But from what I read, though, the whole idea of them making having these social gatherings like they did, like because they were having like tuxedo.
No. I hear you.
Things.
Yeah, but Frederick Douglass talks about basically people running their mouths too much.
Oh, so that's what it is.
Like
okay.
It's like, you know,
he's not being as secretive.
Right.
Well, that's the other thing. It's supposed to be underground, and people, you know, just showing up in people's houses and stuff like that. Like, oh, big up with it. I'm like,
No, I hear you. But go ahead.
You know, and the movie plays some fast and loose with some of the time. You know, the Fugitive Slave Act of, I believe, 1850.
1851, I think.
Right.
I think when it passes.
When it passed, it actually, if you look in history, there's argument that Harriet hadn't actually made her first trip back yet.
Right.
By then. Okay, you can muck around. You do that to heighten the drama.
Sure.
And I'm fine. Look, if Braveheart can take people from 100 years after and put them in their movie, then I don't have any problem with what Kasi Lemmons and crew do with Harriet, because everything you read is probably a good 90 to 95% on the button.
Yeah, oh yeah. As
far as its depiction. And I just really came away just really enjoying this movie. It's heavy, but it's not too heavy.
Mm-hmm.
It's just heavy enough because it is an action. Because I think it does build itself a little bit as an action film.
Yeah.
And it's not an action film, but I see where they're trying to go there.
Sure.
And I think they tried to skirt that line with being respectful for the story.
You have hit the bingo.
And then, trying to blend that with the action.
Yeah.
So I don't know if 100% they hit it, but for me, I enjoyed the hell out of it. I liked it a lot.
I did not enjoy it as much as you. And in fact, I landed on this is a solid movie, but I had to land there.
Okay.
For me, this film had the challenge of the weight of history to deal with. And that shows itself in two ways. First, as you mentioned, this is the only film treatment of the life of Harriet Tubman, which means that Kasi Lemmons had to treat this as basically the statement of Harriet Tubman.
She's making the statement.
Which means, and I'm so, you use this language of a year one or origin story, which to risk going back into the nerd bag, one of the complaints that people have had over the years with superhero movies, particularly with Batman or Spider-Man or Superman, is that they spend so much time with the origin before you get to frankly, the good part.
Right.
When we think about Harriet Tubman as Moses and this abolitionist, the film takes an hour until you get to that. She doesn't escape for a half hour. Like it talks about her early life, and then there's an additional half hour with her in Philadelphia and kind of getting acclimated, and then she comes back, and as you said, she goes to save her husband, finds out her husband is remarried, and then she begins basically being Harriet Tubman. But then that means you have an hour to fit in, fully actualize Harriet Tubman. And it just wasn't enough for me.
It felt rushed.
It felt like the part that made Harriet Tubman's life so noteworthy needed more space. Like there's this wonderful montage with with Nina Simone, where they show her making the trips.
They're playing center man.
They're playing center man, and
Best use of that song on film.
And they are showing the way the Underground Railroad actually worked. Like, part of what was so miraculous about her traveling and escaping by herself is that was damn near impossible.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's such an interconnected...
And that wasn't the Underground Railroad. That was just her.
Right. So to escape, it's such an intricate, interconnected network that gets you out. I looked it up real quick. As you said, this came out in 2019. The best depiction of the Underground Railroad has been what Misha Green did in 2016 with Underground, where she basically framed it as a heist.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just this ongoing heist where the heist, what you're getting, is people.
Mm-hmm.
Harriet Tubman was known for this great spycraft. Like, she used disguises. She would only travel in the winter where no one would expect her. No, part of the reason she could get away with it for so long is because no one knew it was this woman, this kind of small woman doing all this.
Right.
Like,
as you noted, they were looking for Moses.
They're looking for Moses. So,
and even then they thought Moses was possibly a abolitionist in blackface.
Right. They thought it was a white man. They thought it was a black, like, no one. So all of that isn't really touched. Like, there's one moment where she's in disguise, and that's not really touched on. My absolute favorite part of Harriet Tubman's life is during the Civil War, where she's a spy and she goes undercover. And they show a scene at the very end where she commands these troops and frees all these people. Where you joked about Harriet Tubman, Demon Slayer, where she's not a demon slayer, but she was damn near a superhero.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for real. But because this is the Harriet Tubman film, you get the sense that Lemmons wanted to get everything in.
Mm-hmm.
I think the second thing that happens is that I got the sense that Kasi Lemmons was so respectful of Harriet Tubman, the woman, and so sort of deferential, that I found a lot of the characters flat. Like, I didn't see Harriet Tubman as a person. I saw it was almost like going to the museum and having a reenactment. I am Harriet Tubman. I was enslaved when I was this age, and then I escaped. And like everything that Harriet Tubman says in the film, it's like all of, it's like the strings and we gonna get freedom one way or the other and everything. And it's just,
she never takes her cape off.
You never get the sense she's a human.
Okay.
And to your point about the fictional characters, as you said, there was a lot of controversy about the fictional characters. And maybe, at the risk of being in the bag for our boy, I actually really enjoyed Bigger Long's character as a character. I really enjoyed Janelle Monáe's Marie Buchanan as a character. We talked about Bigger Long. Bigger Long has this partner, this young partner, Walter, who's like this kid who's he's a scout and he sketches. But I love them as characters because they were actually characters. Like, they actually have like when Bigger Long is introduced, there's this wonderful moment where he says, I'm going to help you catch these people and it's going to cost you $200. And they said, well, what are you going to do with $200? And he says, I'm going to get me enough white women to last me until February. And it's, obviously this amazingly tense scene. And it seems like there's about to be gunplay. Omar Dorsey has the world's greatest shit-eating grin. But it's the most lively moment in the whole movie. Like, it's actually a pop in the movie. You said it. The most graphic depiction of violence in here is between Bigger and Marie,
Yeah.
where you get the sense she mocks him, he loses control
Mm-hmm.
and kills her.
Mm-hmm.
But this is actually a film now. Like, this isn't just something that you watch in 10th grade history class
Yeah.
that the Smithsonian put together. Like, this is now something happening. Part of the reason that I'm so adamant that this is Kasi Lemmons being deferential as opposed to some lack in her skill. Part of the Harriet Tubman thing, and they touch on this, that like Harriet Tubman had this injury when she was a child. She had spells where she would pass out, and she talked about she would talk to God.
Yeah,
basically, she would talk to God, and they show this in the film where she has these visions of basically the future, and they're very sepia toned,
mm-hmm.
and again you get the strings and everything. And I have to say, whenever I think about Harriet Tubman, it's sort of like I always think about John Brown, the great abolitionist John Brown. And a lot of the scholarship now kind of theorizes that John Brown probably had some undiagnosed psychological issues.
Right.
But I like that because it kind of, it kind of muddies it up a little bit, kind of makes him human. And I wanted Harriet Tubman's visions to be a little kind of unsettling.
Well,
a little off. And what I realized was I wanted Kasi Lemmons, in depicting the visions of Harriet Tubman, to follow the example of Kasi Lemmons depicting the visions of Samuel L. Jackson's character in Caveman's Valentine, where it's the same sort of thing, but because he's a fictional character, because you get the sense that she can make him more complicated.
Mm.
You have this wonderful tension where he's also having visions and he sees angels and everything, but this is a character. Whereas Harriet Tubman almost has to be pristine. And again, you're deferential and you're respectful, and I understand it. But as a movie-going experience, it left me landing on, this is okay. Like, this is okay.
Okay. All right. I hear you. I hear your critique of the depiction of Harriet Tubman, right? Of being a little bit maybe one note. You not really feeling her as a person, right? But as I was watching it, I was reminded of, speaking of films we just mentioned, I was reminded of Russell Crowe in Gladiator, who, for the most part, except for a moment where you see him running his hands through the fields,
Mm-hmm.
he's pretty much one note in that film as well. He's the hero.
I agree, but that's sort of oranges and tangerines, because Gladiator is actually an action film.
Yeah, I mean,
like, you don't go to Gladiator for characterization.
Fair enough. Like I said, I think that's where this film kind of lets it down a little bit. I think they want it to be a bit of an action film. I think they do, but
there's no action for half of it.
Okay, well,
like the Centerman montage is the great action.
Well, some might argue that if in the best of the contemporary action films, there's always some type of car chase, this has a chase. It's not a car chase, but it's them chasing Harriet.
Yeah, but again, it's like you like, I'm actually going to use your language where you talked about how these films have the shorthand at this point. We all have this cinematic shorthand for slavery. And even the chase scenes where they're running after her and they're, it's actually some dogs on her heel. Like, there's nothing. Again, I felt like I was looking at a dramatization put together by the Smithsonian.
I will also push back that I think that as essential as it is for you to have Harriet Tubman, her heroism shown. You know,
Yes.
in her fully actualized Harriet Tubman. You
Right.
need that, right? I also think that it is equally as important to show the lengths of what she went through to get there.
Does it take an hour? Like, does it take half the movie?
I honestly did not mind being there because I liked being given the idea of exactly how daunting that was for her in the depiction on the wear and tear on her body and on her clothes, and in how long it was, and how every step along the way it looks like she's maybe, all right, I'm there, like, no, I still gotta go, what, 25 more miles? Okay.
Sure.
Oh, I still gotta go 5 more miles. I still gotta go. I was there for that. I was invested in it. So I didn't mind it at all. The time of this movie, I actually don't feel the time of this movie at all. It melted for me. Like I'm not cognizant of the time until after the beat at the end where the big bads are killed. And I will say, real quick aside, that Omar does do good work and his character is there. I just don't think he's given enough to do.
Sure.
So we don't really get the full sense of the man.
Look, I think you couldn't have had him in there anymore because he would have took over the damn movie.
Well, he would have, because I don't think because he's mostly partnered with Gideon.
Yeah.
And Gideon, I don't think, is a strong performance. I think that's the worst performance of the movie.
Sure.
And Omar is supposed to be a little bit, in status lower than Gideon, and you never get that.
And he's bigger than life
impression.
Like, you realize he's playing evil Django.
Right.
He's basically evil Django.
Right. But the only time I actually felt the length was after all of them are dealt with, and then it cuts to Harriet leading the
Union soldiers.
The Union soldiers. I was like, oh wow, there's still another scene. But fortunately, that scene is,
right.
Quickly dealt with. And then it cuts to the credits. I don't know, man. I think it's more than just okay. I'm not going to get me wrong. I'm not saying this is world-breaking movie making at all, but I think it actually is a.
You ready for this?
Good movie.
I actually think Cynthia Erivo is maybe in second gear the whole film.
Really?
This is. I think Cynthia Erivo's performance in this film is nowhere near as good as I've seen Cynthia Erivo.
Well, okay. I mean, have I seen her do better work? I'd have to think about that. And we'll have an opportunity later on this month.
Right.
But I didn't find her in second gear. I was there for most of her performance. I don't think that she is.
I think she's brave and very tenacious. And then the other time she's tenacious and very brave.
Well, I guess I guess
she has a lot of faith.
I guess I could hear you in that. If she is, I don't think she's in second gear, but I do think an argument can be made that her characterization is a little one note, and thus she is constantly replaying the same beat.
Right.
So, I guess I can
and again
live there.
I know this is a case of the subject.
Yeah.
Because I'm talking about Caveman's Valentine. Eve's Bayou is like Do the Right Thing, Uptown Saturday Night. I've just named all of the movies I've ever seen in my life that I like better than Eve's Bayou. And you talk about the characters in Eve's Bayou and the women and everything. And again, I just said if Bigger was in it longer, he would have took over the movie. Janelle Monáe's Marie Buchanan as this sort of this free black woman who has this hint of haughtiness to her.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh my God, I want a movie about her.
Yeah.
Like just her life in Philadelphia, and kind of you get the sense that she helps these people who have just escaped from slavery because she has to, but she don't really like this. Like she got, shit, I guess I got, fine.
Yeah. Yeah, Harriet keep coming. Oh, gosh, I ain't got but so many rooms, Harriet. Oh,
Right. So,
Yeah.
to your point, I thought it was beautiful. It's a beautifully shot, you know, again, beautiful shots, but
gorgeous. Gorgeous. I loved it. I loved the set design. I loved everything about it. I loved the
costumes,
the paint,
look,
the blues.
look. One of the many moments where I was like, oh my God, I wish this could be the whole movie. When Harriet actually becomes Harriet from the posters, where she has on the hat and the gun, and the little short blazer, I said, oh, well, see, here we go. I said, here we go. When Marie taught her how to shoot the gun, and then she had the gun, I said, well, okay, well, here we go.
Yeah. Need more gunplay so it can be a true Western.
But, and again, not even gunplay. I just, you know, but I landed on it was solid, though.
He landed on it was solid.
I had to get to it.
But
because I thought it was, boy, that first half hour was rough.
I'll flip the script, though.
Okay.
You landed on solid.
Yes.
Would you recommend it?
I would recommend it for a couple of reasons. First and foremost, I think you have to watch everything Kasi Lemmons makes.
Okay.
Second, it is the only film that's ever been made about Harriet Tubman.
Except for a TV movie with Cecily Tyson.
I'm sorry. Theatrical release about Harriet Tubman. But it's a pretty low bar. And what I'm hoping is that this serves as the foundation for other films. Like we talk about, again, just to go back to the superhero stuff. We got all the Smallville stuff out the way. We got Krypton blown up out the way. Now we can get Superman 2, and he fights some Phantom Zone villains. Like now we actually get to it.
Okay.
Okay, she all right, she escaped from slavery, and all right, and then her husband said, I found me another wife. So now you know, and now you stumble in, and now you know you're a conductor. Like I want the entire film of that Centerman montage. And you?
I would unabashedly recommend the movie.
All right, there you go.
I think everybody should see Harriet. It's very good.
All right.
Enjoy it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is our review of Harriet. Check it out on a streamer near you. Before we tell you about the very, very special episode that we are doing next week with a very special guest, I invite you to like the Micheaux Mission. 2 Men, 1 podcast, every black film ever made. Go to MicheauxMission.com where you can hit swag and check out all of the cool designs and shirts and prizes that we have available for your buying pleasure by way of our good friends at TeePublic. You can even get our 6 Degrees of D'Urville Martin collection. Cop that.
Rep your set.
Rep your set, ladies and gentlemen. You can also like the Micheaux Mission on the social media of your choice, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, at Micheaux Mission. Join the Facebook group where all of our missionaries get together, share interesting news and commentary, and have a great old time. And me and Vince pop in there with them every week just as well. Subscribe to the Micheaux Mission on YouTube at Micheaux Mission. And you can always email us at micheauxmission@gmail.com, MICHEAUXMISSION. Or you can even leave us a voicemail. You can leave us a voicemail, Vince. 215-867-9666. Tell Vincent and Len on this very antiquated technology exactly what's on your mind.
Call me now. Operators are standing by. See, now that we're on a set like that, I really do
feel like we need to... We need a crystal ball?
We need, like, non-extras in the back pretending like they're picking up phones.
Oh, Jesus.
Call me now.
Don't. See, you don't know. You don't. What he doesn't know, because I know him, our new producer, Terry, in the background, he's making a list. He's checking it twice.
Right.
He's like, Len, I was only able to get 4, but I've got 4.
Got 4 extras.
I got 4 extras
pretending to
right
answer
here.
the phones.
They'll share 2 phones.
Right.
But we're gonna make it work. We'll just go back and forth with the cameras.
Right, picking up phones. because we have voicemail.
We have.
That's one does.
What?
You can fax us.
Grab a pigeon of your choice. Send us. Anyway. The Micheaux Mission, which comes to you live stream every Tuesday at 7 p.m.
Or you can get it on LimeWire.
From yes, we're available as a torrent. We are streaming from MNYK Studios right here in Philadelphia, ladies and gentlemen. I believe I'm looking at Terry. It's mnykstudios.com. mnykstudios.com. Bring your podcast here and do it in style. All right. And the Micheaux Mission is a proud member of The Podglomerate, thepodglomerate.com. They make podcasts work. Just like the Class of 1989, our brand new documentary series that is available everywhere that you find podcasts. 6 films, 1 podcast, an industry and a culture changed forever. All right. Next week, ladies and gentlemen, we are doing something that Vincent and I have talked about doing for quite some time. And now that we are in this beautiful new set, we are taking advantage of it and we're doing it big time. And that is going and revisiting a few of the select reviews that we did before the days of video. So these are reviews that were only available in audio from our library. And digging into that treasure chest, we have come up with a dandy for you, as Vincent and I will be reviewing for the first time on YouTube, Purple Rain. Yes. And to do it, we are inviting a very special guest who is a huge Prince fan, as well as a noted celebrity here in Philadelphia from WHYY.
And a great journalist. Tanya
Pendleton will be here live on our set to review Purple Rain next week here on the Micheaux Mission. So you do not want to miss that.
No, it's going to be a good time.
It's going to be a very good time. Very good time. All right? Okay. Until next week, he's Vincent, I'm Len, and in parting, we say,
we'll see you when it's time to meet again.